So I decided to do another video on an idea that I mentioned in the past video, the most recent one that I posted, where I talked about some crossover ideas for characters that I enjoy watching in films. Spider-Man, Ghostbusters, Daredevil, Super Mario Brothers, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I figured since they all lived in New York City, they could all meet and have some sort of adventure. But check that video if you're interested in that idea. I do claim that as my own, so please don't if you steal that, I may take legal action against you. Um, but because I might actually end up writing that someday. So that's my idea there. But I also have some other ideas that I just want to talk about that I spoke about briefly in the other one. So Batman and Star Wars. So again, I'm just brainstorming here in these videos, but I'm trying to think of how Batman could be involved with Star Wars because Star Wars is set in a galaxy in another time, supposedly a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. So maybe I could do, if I were to write this, I could do where Batman is an alternative Batman universe, which is set in the same time and galaxy as Star Wars. Maybe he's on a planet called Planet Gotham. That would be really the only way where those characters could meet. So, okay, so we have Planet Gotham within the Star Wars galaxy. And I'm trying to figure out how those characters would meet. What would be the plot that would drive them there? Um, hmm. I really would like it to be set during the original film times. I really like the other films too, but the original three, I would like to have it set during that time because I really like those characters the best. I like that aesthetic the best. I really like how those, excuse me, I'm belching. But I like how those films do make use of more tangible special effects. The Muppets, the model ships, all of the different vehicles that are made are not CG, they're all handmade. So I really like that. Maybe that could be incorporated in the film. It could be a no CG film, just old school 80s special effects. Um, that would be really cool to see, and I think it would be different and a nice change of pace. I like CG too, but I think this would be a cool aspect of that type of film. So you have Planet Gotham within the Star Wars universe. Maybe it's on the outskirts of the galaxy, a planet they never really heard of before. But the characters in it, maybe it could be set between the first and second film, between New Hope and Empire. So it could be where one of the characters, let's say Luke, is just attempting to fight some of the Imperial forces. He's ambushed. He doesn't realize how many uh, of Darth Vader's troops are actually at the location he's in. So he's ambushed. He's pushed to the edges of the galaxy. Somehow, Han is able to use some of his troops to eventually fend off the uh, Darth Vader's forces who are attacking Luke. So Han comes to his aid, is able to fend them off. Both Han and Luke are then, and I guess R2 too, because R2 is part of Luke's ship. They end up landing on the planet Gotham, which they've never heard of. It's sort of on the outskirts of the galaxy they're in, maybe even within another galaxy, sort of on the edge of uh, the Gotham galaxy, maybe, and then the Star Wars galaxy. So Han and Luke end up landing on this planet, and they search around. It seems to be an ecumenopolis of sorts, or a planet that has a city for all of it. There's no nature, there's no trees or grass. It's just one giant city with buildings and concrete. And I think it would be cool if it was a futuristic Gotham, one that was, I mean, it's set during this time that Star Wars is in, which is in the past, but Star Wars is more futuristic. So maybe have a futuristic Gotham set in the past in this galaxy. So Han and R2 and Luke are all on this planet, planet Gotham. They meet the denizens there. All are sort of sour. There seems to be a lot of crime on this planet. Um, and then as they're walking around this planet, as they're waiting for, let's say the reason that they're stuck on this planet is because their fuel has run out in their vehicles. So they contact Leia. They say we need someone to pick us up. So that's why they're on this planet now. It's taking some time for Leia to find, troops, the rebel troops, to get fuel to them. So that's why they're stuck on planet Gotham for a while. So they're all walking around there. They find out there's a lot of crime, a lot of deviance. The people are all sort of sour and melancholy, not very cheerful. Uh, so I'm trying to think, how would they first encounter Batman? Um, I suppose it would be more interesting if they encountered one of the villains first. Joker's been kind of overused. I'm trying to think of a good one. Penguin might be a good one for this one. Because he is high level, but not as high level as the Joker. So let's make it the Penguin. Penguin robs a bank, let's say, and the Star Wars characters Luke and R2 and Han witness this happening. So they try to intervene. They try to stop Penguin's forces. Batman arrives on the scene also, as he's been tracking Penguin for a while and he's learned of this bank robbery that's taking place. Unfortunately, because the Star Wars characters have intervened, they sort of ruin Batman's plan to capture Penguin at this bank robbery, and Penguin escapes. Um, So Batman tells them who he is, how these characters have ruined their plan. The characters apologize deeply and state that they're not trying to help. Batman tells them to stay out of his business and that it'd be best for them just to wait for their ship and not get involved in what he's doing. So we have that there, and the movie can't be all about them just waiting, in a cafe in Gotham City for their fuel to arrive. Something else has to happen. So um, perhaps I don't know if I want another villain involved, although that might be a good idea. Maybe as they're waiting, maybe they are in a cafe or a bar in Gotham, and they end up meeting. Trying to think of another good Batman villain. Riddler's been used recently. Maybe the ventriloquist character, the puppeteer person. I'm blanking on his name. I don't know if his. I'm thinking it's a ventriloquist. I'm gonna look up his name on Google now. Ventriloquist villain in Batman. Arnold Wesker, incarnation of the ventriloquist, and Scarface appeared in the Batman, both voiced by Dan Castellaneta. Okay, so it is a ventriloquist. I was correct on that. Okay, so let's say they meet the ventriloquist, and he's in the bar also. He has this dummy who he's talking to, the Star Wars characters are intrigued by this. They approach him and ask him if this is like an act that he does. The ventriloquist states yes, and if they're interested in seeing one of his acts, they say they're stuck on the planet for a while, so why not? The ventriloquist says, "Great, I have an act tonight at this bar later on, at 10 p.m. Feel free to stop by." So yeah, okay, so we have that. We can obviously cut to the scenes with other Star Wars characters also, and Batman. Batman doing investigative um, work in his Batcave on his computer, trying to search for henchmen who he can track down to see where the Penguin is and what he plans to do next. Um, we can also cut back to Leia and the other Star Wars characters on their Rebel home base, and they can, discuss, where their Rebel troops are, what the fuel situation is. C-3PO and Leia, not Lando yet because he's not in the movies until Empire. But Leia and 3PO would be maybe discussing this. So that's the plot as of now. And then I think what would happen is that the characters see the show by the ventriloquist. The ventriloquist ends up taking the bar for hostage and taking whatever money is in the characters, all the people in that bar's pockets, any money they have, as well as money in the cash register at the bar. Um, the ventriloquist ends up getting away. And I'm trying to think of what would happen for Batman and the Star Wars characters meet again. Maybe um, the ventriloquist also steals the Star Wars characters' weapons and R2 also, and they need R2 for Luke to get home because he's part of his computer's or ship's computer system. So they try to figure out how to track down Batman. They don't know who he is or where he is. Um, but I think what they can do is they can search the city. They walk around the city. They try to track down Batman to help them find the ventriloquist. I think the most likely scenario would be that they just find Batman via Commissioner Gordon because they go through the police and to state that their weapons and R2 was stolen, and then they try to see if the police can help them with this. The police state that they can, but express that they're sort of tied thin as there's a lot of crime going on. So they think, well, the police aren't probably going to help us, so we should probably get involved with this Batman character, although he doesn't like us and he seems to be angry at us. So they ask Gordon where Batman is. Gordon doesn't know either, but he says he can contact them with a bat signal. So they contact him with the bat signal. Batman arrives at the top of the building where they usually meet, where Gordon and him meet, along with Han and Luke. And then Han and Luke tell him what happened. Batman states that he'll help them find the ventriloquist and R2. So Batman, I think it would be best for Batman to bring them to his lair. Maybe he can put a blindfold over both of their eyes and then to hide his location. So that would be good. And then he can do investigative work on the computer. He finds out where where the ventriloquist would most likely be. Um, Based on some other data he's collected from him, maybe some DNA that he's used to, has tracked throughout the city and can find him that way. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. And then I think eventually what would happen is Batman finds a ventriloquist. Um, but he also finds Penguin there also because the ventriloquist had plans to team with the Penguin also. So Batman and Han and Luke all meet the ventriloquist and Penguin at whatever headquarters they're using for their crime, and then they, I guess, they can fight, I suppose. But then they retrieve R2, Leia, and C-3PO eventually arrive with the fuel. They all, thank each other for their assistance, and that would be the end of the film. So that's the idea that I just brainstormed right now. I think that'd be cool. And then Samus and Spider-Man. I think that'd be another cool crossover. Again, they're sort of in different universes, but there is Madam Web in the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, and obviously there's the multiverse. So Spider-Man um, is not a stranger to traveling to other dimensions. So maybe the plot for that could be Spider-Man is trying to track down, one of his villains who I don't want to use rob the bank again, but maybe he's trying to track down, let's say, the second Green Goblin who has kidnapped Mary Jane, and he's attempting to track him down. Um, and unfortunately, Madam Web is experiencing a technical difficulty with her dimensional machine. She ends up opening a portal as in the same location where Spider-Man and Green Goblin and Mary Jane are all in the air, swinging and fighting. Some sort of malfunction with that portal machine. That portal machine opens up at that moment in time, ends up capturing all those characters, including Madam Web, and they're accidentally transported to Samus's dimension. And so they find themselves, all of these characters, on one of the planets in Samus's world. I don't know which one. I don't know those very well, but it's one of them. They end up encountering Samus during one of her fights to catch a bounty hunter. They end up ruining her bounty. The bounty gets away. Kind of similar to the other Batman plot, so I apologize for this, but the bounty gets away. Samus expresses, her dismay. Once again, similar to the Batman plot, tells the characters to stay out of her business. The characters talk to Madam Web. Samus just sort of leaves at that point to find her bounty. The characters talk with Madam Web. They try to figure out how long it will take her to fix her. I don't know if it's a machine, but I think it is her dimensional transportation machine. She says it's going to take a while, so she is going to fix that there. Spider-Man and Gabi, the Green Goblin 2, Harry have to sort of come to terms with each other and cooperate. And then I would like, obviously, Spider-Man and Gabi. Oh, you know what I think is a better idea? Gabi says, screw this. He grabs Mary Jane again. Spider-Man tries to stop him. Gabi kicks him away, flies off on his glider, and just sort of flies through the planet that Samus is on. So he eventually catches up Green Goblin to Harry and Mary Jane with Samus's ship. He sees him. Spidey is also just running after him at this point. There's nothing to swing from, so he's just sort of running and leaping to catch him, which I think would be cool and unique because you usually see Spider-Man swinging. But I think this would be cool if it was set on some sort of like desert planet, like an arid planet where there's not a lot of. I mean, he could swing from some things, but not a lot for Spidey to swing from. So anyway, you have Green Goblin 2 and Mary Jane. They catch up with Samus's ship, who's chasing this bounty hunter who's right ahead of her also. Um, they end up, sort of flying next to each other. Spider-Man is close behind them. Um, and then what would be best next? I think it would be best if Spider-Man grabs onto Gabi, ends up crashing Gabi into Samus's ship, knocking her off course, and once again her bounty gets away. So they all crash on the ground. Once again, they have to speak with each other. Samus is really ticked at this point. That's the second time they've ruined her bounty. Um, she states, stay out of my business and whatnot. Um, I'm trying to think of what else would happen because I don't just want that same scenario to happen over and over again in the film. So, oh, what would be interesting at this point? Madam Web transports to that location where they're all at that point. And she says, the transportation machine is fixed. I can return us all to New York City. So she does this. She presses the transportation button, but something malfunctions again where Samus is flown away at this point, but the transportation orb that emerges becomes super large, and Madam Web expressed concern over this. She says, "Why is this becoming so large? It's malfunctioning again." So the characters are like, "Oh, great, this is going to happen again. So where are we going to go now?" Ends up capturing Samus and her ship. Ends up bringing Samus and the other characters back to New York City to Spider-Man's universe. So Samus is now in New York City, and so once again, they end up landing on the ground. Um, the Green Goblin is quick, grabs Mary Jane again. Spidey tries to stop her. Green Goblin swats Spidey away, or punches him away. Ends up flying off with Mary Jane again. Um, Samus, asks Madam Web how she can return to her universe. Again, so this is sort of kind of cheap, but there's again, a malfunction in this machine. She still has to do some fine tuning on the dimensional uh, vortex or orb that emerges from this machine to get to work again. Um, Spidey says, "I can't hang around. I have to find Green Goblin." So Samus stops him and says, "I can help you if you wish. I can do that just out of the goodness of her heart." Spidey says, "I usually work alone. I don't know how you could help me." And Samus shows off some of the things she can do. She shows Spidey her jumping ability, her blasting ability, her missiles. They would have to be like if they were in New York City, they would have to be like I'm trying to think where she could demonstrate this. Hmm. Maybe just on like a rooftop somewhere, and she's sort of just like shooting like her missiles and beams into the air. It would have to be at night when not many people are awake and not being able to see them. So that would be plausible. And then, she shows her morph ball mode, grappling beam, flamethrower thing from the Smash Brothers thing. So Spidey says, "Well, Gabi is kicking my butt anyway. I haven't been able to stop him yet, so maybe I should use you for help." So he says, "Okay, let's go. How are you gonna get around though? Like, um, but oh right. So I guess Samus's ship could be sucked in too. So I guess the ship could be on that building top too. So Samus can just use her ship there. So stupid of me, I forgot about that. So Samus, follows Spider in her ship. Spidey kind of knows where the Green Goblin most likely will go. He swings throughout the city. Samus flies through her ship. They end up finding Green Goblin with Mary Jane. They all fight Green Goblin. Spidey and Samus end up overpowering Green Goblin too. Spider-Man, ties him up in his web, and Green Goblin 2 is incarcerated. So Spider-Man ends up back with Mary Jane, and um, then Mary Jane and Spider-Man then go back, and Samus. They all go back to where Madam Web is. Ask her if the machine is working. Madam Web says most likely. To send Samus back. She turns on the machine. Spider-Man once again thanks her for her help. And then Samus enters back in the orb, and we see Samus arriving back in her own universe. So I'm wondering if it'd be apropos if Samus shows her actual face to Spidey. Maybe at the end she just sort of flicks her visor up or something just to show her face, gives Spidey the thumbs up, enters the machine, and then goes back to her home universe and planet. I think that'd be another cool crossover idea for a film too. Once again, I do claim that as my idea, so I may write that and try and sell that someday. Um, yeah, I will claim it as my idea here. But just I don't want to get into that right now. I'm just trying to have fun for my birthday here. Um, but yeah, just another brainstorm and concept. If you want to comment on either of those, that's fine. But yeah, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. And again, if you want to leave a comment, that's fine too. And thanks again. I hope you have a good rest of the day.